Guys, so every so often I get people ask me a question that I initially thought was actually such a weird question, or at least I thought it was obvious. The question is, hey doc, how many eggs do your birds lay per day? Or how many eggs does each of your birds lay per day? I always found that interesting because at first I thought it was really obvious, but now that I think about it, it's actually not as obvious as I initially thought. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing that with you. How many eggs do chickens lay per day? And generally, why do some chickens lay more eggs than others? Because currently, right here, I have commercial layers. These are birds that produce eggs for eating. And with these chickens, my birds can produce about 330 eggs every year. Yet there are some other birds that lay maybe 100, some of them 80, some of them, 150 eggs per year. What causes this difference? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing that. And come on, let's get into the poultry house so that I can probably explain this a little bit better. So I have 4 chicken houses right here. And this is the oldest flock that I do have on the farm. This flock is in its 99th week. That means it will soon be making 100 weeks, yeah? So we'll go up there, I'll take the ramp. So there's a food dip before I get into the poultry house. And this food dip provides for biosecurity. It's the main reason as to why I can actually have a flock that can go up to 100 weeks. Just today morning, I was looking at my Twitter feed and someone was complaining about diseases that attacked their flock, yeah? So they got birds and the birds got sick and all that kind of stuff. And then they were saying, they were not following the advice that I was giving them initially about biosecurity. So I personally don't allow visitors on the farm. There's a lot of things that I do on the farm to increase biosecurity. Biosecurity are the things that you do or not do to prevent introduction of diseases on the farm. And on this farm of mine, I don't allow visitors. All the staff that do work here sleep on the farm. There's a lot of measures that I personally carry out to prevent introduction of disease, and it's because I've been bitten before. They say once bitten, twice shy. I've been bitten before and I know the effect of not putting in place the correct biosecurity measures. I don't want to get into such a problem where my birds are consistently dying because of sickness and disease and all those kinds of things. So I've done everything that I can, at least for now, to minimize that risk, yeah? So one of them is, the introduction of that food dip. And I'll tell you guys, it's been months since I even last entered this house. Well, I probably, in the last 4 months, I've probably entered my chicken houses twice because I consistently move on and off the farm and I don't want to introduce diseases on the farm. So if I want to observe anything, I stand on the windows and just look because I can observe all the behaviors. I see the guys moving around and everything and I can tell what's going on or not going on right. But anyway, it's been a while since I last entered this chicken house. So come on, let's get in and, see what's happening inside there. We'll take our ramp. And as soon as we get in, the birds are going to get very loud because, I don't know, for some reason, someone talking excites them. Okay? All right. The door is shut because I think there's someone in there. They'll come and open for us. Okay, cool. All right, guys, welcome to our flock. This is the oldest flock that we do have on the farm, and it can be easily seen. It's obvious. Look at their feather pattern, yeah? Can you see their feathers all around their necks? It's like the feathers around their necks are getting off. They look old. Some of them actually don't even have feathers around the necks. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah? A lot of them don't have feathers around the necks because they have shed the feathers around their neck. Okay? And then if we can start moving around, this place here has 1,200 and something birds. Yeah? This upper floor of the chicken house. 1,200 and something birds. You can see their feed inside here. Okay? So this is their feed that they are feeding on this morning. And then this is their water right here. Okay? This is the water inside the drinkers. It's automated. It comes in via a pipe that you see connected coming from a tank that's outside. Yeah? You can see the tank right there. Yeah? So we have 2 tanks. That's on the lower level, but there's one on an upper level. And then we can see the litter that we do have inside the chicken house. Okay? This is litter. And you can see how nice and integral it is, despite the fact that this flock is old. So we've changed this litter once for the time that this flock has been inside here. And you can see someone working inside the flock. And you know what they're doing? They are raking the litter. That's called raking. Okay, do you see that? So every morning someone has to get, a forked hoe just like that one, and we rake the litter to make sure that we turn it upside down, because the birds poop on top of the litter, and so we need to keep turning it. Anyway, we'll move away from that, and I'll move on to what brought us in here. So if you look inside these are called laying boxes. Okay, these are laying boxes, and inside those laying boxes there's chickens that are laying eggs. So I'll just put my hand inside here and pick out one egg so you guys can see it. Okay, so I'm going to step out with this one egg because it is so noisy inside here, so noisy. Yeah, so I'll step out so that I can explain to you guys how this egg forms. Again, you guys can see more and more chickens. I should probably pick a better looking egg. Maybe I should pick two. Good. Yeah, I think these two will give us a very good contrast. Right? So I've picked up 2 eggs from the laying box, and we're going to go outside and we talk about them, okay? So I'll briefly explain to you guys the process the 2 eggs take to reach this point. I'll also share with you guys why they actually do have different colors, and why different types of birds produce different numbers of eggs, okay? So first, how is this egg formed? Interestingly, so for me right here on the farm, my birds, this flock of birds, which is 99 weeks, is currently laying at about 71%. 71% means that out of every 100 chickens, 71 of the chickens are giving me eggs every day. That's an average. Now at peak production, that is about 95%. Yeah, out of every 100 birds, we'll probably get 95. Once in a while it could hit 96%, but generally it will be 95%. Why does it change? How do we get to 95%? How do we get to 71%? Why is this flock at 71%? Yeah, first of all, how is an egg formed? So initially inside birds we have, the little small tiny yellow things that look like eggs. They're like the ovaries. Yeah, so if you've ever cut a female chicken, you'll probably get to a particular point where you have the small yellow tiny things. Yeah, those are called the ovaries. They are the precursors for forming an egg. So what will happen is that they will get released into the fallopian tube, and when they are released, that initially is the egg yolk. It's released when it's really big. So initially it just starts out as an egg yolk, and then later on, as it moves through the fallopian tube, it will have the egg white deposited around it, and that process will take just 3 hours. So for it coming from just a yolk to a full egg white coming around it takes just about 3 hours, and after that it is completed. And then after that it moves into the uterus, and in the uterus it will have the eggshell forming around it. So the eggshell is what you see right here. The eggshell will be formed around it, and the pigment. So there are different types of pigments. Depending on the type and the species of the bird, the pigment can be, brown like this. It can be closer to white like this other one. It can be sometimes even greenish, sometimes even bluish. It just depends on the species of the bird, yeah? They have different pigments deposited in them. And that's what will probably take the longest time. That will probably take about, a few hours. Yeah, it might take like, 10, 12, 15 hours. And then after that, the egg will be passed out. So an egg will be laid. So ideally, this process of an egg being formed in commercial layers like mine right here takes about 26 hours. Or generally in birds, it takes about 26 hours. Yeah, the process from which an egg, the yellow thing is released to the point where an egg is released by the birds takes 26 hours. So first of all, birds can never lay more than an egg a day. Yeah, they can never. So I always find it strange. People would ask me, how many eggs do your birds lay every day? No, birds cannot lay an egg or more than an egg a day. Yeah. Secondly, birds cannot even lay an egg every day. That is the interesting bit. They don't lay an egg every day. They lay an egg every 26 hours at best. And that is why we have a 95% peak production. What that means is that even if all the chickens have their ovum, the small little tiny eggs that be inside, even if they have them ready to come out every day, it's still going to ensure that since a day only has 24 hours and the birds lay eggs every 26 hours, the maximum you can get will be like 95, 96%. That's the maximum you're going to get. You're never going to get like 100%. Yeah, I mean, if you have like 3 or 4 chickens, you could get a 100%. And it's simply because coincidentally, all those 26 hours could fall on the same day for your birds. But then that means that the next day you might get none. You understand? So if you average it out over like a week or 2 weeks, it's still not going to be 100%. Yeah. So on a particular day, it could give you 100%, but an average over a particular number of days, it's never. So if the more birds you have, the less likely it is that you'll ever get to 100%. Yeah. So I hope you guys have understood why birds can never give you an egg every day on average. Yeah. They give you less than that because an egg is formed every 26 hours. Secondly, why do eggs have different colors of pigments? I mean, it's just because of the species of a bird. Depending on how much calcium is availed and where it is deposited from, and you know, all those things, those are the things that determine the color of an egg. If the birds are the same exact species like I do have right here, generally they will tend to the same color. So I mean, because of the light, you guys will not tell very well, but I mean, this egg is still brown. Though it looks a bit white, it's still brown. And you can clearly see that it just has, you know, something white over it. Yeah, some calcium deposits over it, but generally it's a brown egg. Now, different breeders will breed for different shades of egg yolks. Yeah, because for example, over here in my country in Uganda, people prefer brown eggs, but if you go to a country like Somalia, for example, or Sudan, people prefer white shelled eggs. And in those countries, you're going to find white shelled eggs because if you take brown shelled eggs, people won't really buy them. I know in India again, for example, most of the common eggs are white shelled eggs. So the breeders breed birds to ensure that they provide different colors of eggs. So again, it just depends on the genes that are available in the breed, and that's what will determine the egg shell color. And now finally, why do different breeds of birds lay different numbers of eggs? Again, it depends on the number of eggs that the birds can produce inside it. You know, again, the small little tiny yellow things that you find inside the eggs, it depends on how many of those that a bird can produce. Different birds have the potential to produce different amounts of them over the year. Yeah, mine, like I've told you guys, can give me 330 eggs a year. Some others can only produce so little. Yeah, and if they can only produce so little, it doesn't matter how much nutrient and how much of it you give them. They just won't lay the eggs. I'll give you a quick example. If I compare that, it's like human beings, yeah? Some people can produce twins, some people can produce triplets. I mean, if you find someone who can give you twins, it's very probable that if they keep getting pregnant and conceiving, they're going to get multiple twins. Yeah, that's the more likely thing, yeah? I know a lady who has delivered 42 children, and all her pregnancies are multiple pregnancies. She has never had a singleton pregnancy. It's either 2, 3, or 4 children. And all the pregnancies are like that, yeah? So that means is that her genes have the potential to produce multiple ovum, you know, multiple eggs being released at the same time, yeah? Same exact thing with the chickens. Some birds naturally have the ability to produce a lot of ovum or eggs. Some birds just don't have that ability, and that will determine whether the bird actually produces a lot of eggs or not, yeah, depending on its genetic ability. So yeah, that's the reason. I hope you guys have understood and have enjoyed the video. I just wanted to give you guys, you know, a little bit of facts so that you understand how this thing of chicken actually works. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.